Should we look at our word of the year?
Word of the year?
Do you remember what your word of the year was for 2022?
No.
No?
I don't actually.
Hey everybody, it's John Lamerton here alongside my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jason Brockman. We are here for another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast, where as always, it is our job to help you get more customers and make more money without just working harder. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this month's episode.
So here it is. Merry Christmas. Everybody's listening to the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. It's Noddy Hoda time.
Yes.
This is our sixth, I believe, Christmas special. We are coming up for 6 years of podcasting. Did you ever think we'd make it this far?
No, I think we made it into about 12 weeks because that used to be a weekly thing. We made it into 12 weeks and you're going, no one's listening. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me stop.
It was way too much hard work. So I think, right, we always have this discussion every month. What episode number is this?
97.
No, I want to say 96.
96 was 97.
It is. What I can tell you is episode 100 is coming up. I believe it's April. I believe it's our April 2023 episode, episode 100. It's our official 100th episode because we have had quite a few in between episodes, bonus episodes, extras. We're probably at about 125 in reality, but official, highly polished, professional podcasts, we're at 7. No. We're coming up for the 100. Those are the ones that other people did. They didn't involve us.
It did.
No, we're coming up for 100 podcasts, which is phenomenal. And what we're going to do, we're going to do something a little bit special. This is the plan anyway. We're going to do a live audience podcast. So we're going to do an episode with you guys. And I'm pointing at the camera for podcast listeners who traditionally listen on audio. But regular listeners / watchers of the AOB podcast will know that is what we do quite often here. So you can join us for this live episode. We'll do it on Zoom. So come along, join us. We will have heckling from the audience. We'll have live Q&A. We'll have some fun and games. We may well bring back some old guests that we've had on before. And we'll have some new guests who will tell us about their ambitious lifestyle business journey. So, you know what they say about like running a small business is like jumping out of an aeroplane and then assembling the parachute on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So when you listen to this episode, there will be a landing page. It doesn't exist yet, but there will be a landing page at bigidea.co.uk/100. And on that page, you can register and we'll send you the link to join in with the live 100th episode, which I think we're going to record in February. So bigidea.co.uk/100. Don't go there now, as in when we're recording this, because it doesn't exist. But by the time you listen to this, it will exist. Honest, because I'm going to write it down now so I remember it.
I wasn't actually on the way there to see if it exists, because what probably happened then is you reach your 100 books page.
Probably, yes.
You try it now, that's where you're going to end up. So,
oh, absolutely. So let's do a tradition for the Christmas podcast. Should we look at our word of the year?
Word of the year?
Do you remember what your word of the year was for 2022?
No.
No?
I don't actually. I know what my one is for 2023.
Oh, brilliant. Lee, if you could just cut out the one we did last year and just put it in here for Jason, so just to remind him of what it is.
Well, my word for next year, because I can't remember the one for this year, so I thought we'd go for a word for next year. It's fruition. I think that's the word.
Fruition.
Fruition.
There we go. We've left a little gap so you can do that. Brilliant.
Fantastic. Yes, and I've fulfilled my life this year with that word in mind. It's been brilliant.
Yeah. I was glad that you stuck to that word. It was a very powerful word, I felt.
I felt the power too.
My word of the year was what was my word of the year? Oh God. I was going to say subtract, but it wasn't subtract. It begins with S. And it was serve. That was it. It was to serve and to think. It was the old Jim Rohn quote: if you help enough people get what they want. No, Zig Ziglar. Help enough people get what they want, you can get anything you want. And I thought, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to help other people. So lots of focus on kind of helping Sarah with her book this year, helping 1%ers with their businesses, helping the team within our information marketing business, get that, hit their goals, hit their targets. And that was my target. That was my goal. That was my word of the year. And I have done that, but I don't think that's actually been my main. If I was to sum up 2022 in, I'm going to say 2 words because it ended up being 2 words, then it wouldn't be serve. And this came around in, I think we might have talked about this on the podcast earlier in the year. So January, I went out 100 mile an hour, serving everybody and getting a bit stressed and a bit irate and a bit angry. And I was listening to Rich Roll, his audiobook, Finding Ultra, all about Ironman races. Now, I have no desire to become an Ironman, but this book was recommended. I enjoyed it. It was a great read. And in this book, Rich Roll talks about how when he first started doing the training, he was told to slow down. He was told, you're going to have the Fitbit on and you've got to keep your heart rate under this rate. You go out and do a jog by all means, but you've got to keep your heart rate below this rate. And it trained him to do it trained his heart rate to keep low so he could do long ultra endurance races, which is what running businesses are. He went out and did the Ironman up on the hills of Hawaii. He's on a bike. One of the locals starts going alongside him, going a bit fast. His watch overdid it and he just ended up, I was going to say crashing, but he didn't actually crash. But ultimately, he needed to slow down. And the message I got from that book 3 times, 3 separate occasions was slow down. This will show you how long ago it was. I browsed Facebook. That hasn't happened most of this year.
It doesn't even exist anymore, John. What are you talking about?
I know. I browsed Facebook and I saw a quote from Tim Ferriss, which said, if you are busy, or busyness is a form of laziness, because if you haven't taken the time to establish what's worth doing, then that's indiscriminate and that's being lazy. Slow down. And it was like he was talking to me, those words, slow down. So actually, my real word of the year for 2022 has been slow down. And I think I've lived by that this year. A lot of that has been dialing in the ambition or dialing down the ambition. We often talk about ambitious lifestyle business as being 2 ends of the pendulum, with ambition at one end and lifestyle at the other. And often we find people are at one end or the other, and they're either very ambitious or they're very much, hey, I just want to, walk barefoot along the beach. And ultimately, I think there's some balance to be had with enough ambition and enough lifestyle. So for me, I think I was dialing up the ambition too much, and now much more down towards the lifestyle end of things. What's your word of the year? Sorry?
Swinging. Love it.
Swinging. Is that your word of the year for next year? Is it swinging?
That's not my word of the year for next year. I think that should be yours, but there we go. We won't talk about that. Opportunities is my word for next year. That's where I'm kind of heading with that, I think, really, both in terms of finding them, but also facilitating opportunities as well for either 1%ers or, again, within our kind of world, really. Maximize those opportunities which fall upon me. I think, there's a lot happens around you, and a lot happens that you kind of skip over and you miss. And I know we've had recent calls about recession planning and all that kind of stuff, and so an opportunity was one of the key words that came out of that, really. But I'm not necessarily thinking about from a recession point of view, but certainly from a business point of view and charity and lifestyle. It's kind of actually seizing those opportunities and running with them, really.
Well, it's opportunity knocks.
Well, let's hope so. Have you got a Bob Monkhouse joke coming up next of you?
Most of my jokes come from Bob Monkhouse. So.
Yes.
Oh, dear. I think that is possibly my favorite joke of all time. They all laughed when I said I was going to be a stand-up comedian. No one's laughing now. Love you,
Very
Bob.
good. How about your word for the year then?
So my word of the year is technically one word. Or is it? I don't know. It's one word, which you could say it's two words, or maybe even three. So my word of the year is better. But actually, I'm using it in the context of better and better. So that we preach about constant, never-ending improvement. The 1% Club is all about simply leaving your business 1% better each week. That word better keeps cropping up. If you look at our marketing, so much of it is about not having a bigger business, but having a better business. So I use this word better a lot. And I thought, actually, when I look at my kind of goals and my vision board for the year just gone, most of it is around, I want to do what I'm doing now, but a bit better. I want to, if I could skip forward in time 12 months and say, right, it's Christmas 2023. You've had a very similar year to this year. You're in a very similar place, but everything is a little bit better. Then I'd be very, very happy with that. And so for the first year, normally my vision boards, they're all kind of image based, and I've still got images there, but I've now got metrics attached to each of them. And that sounds kind of spreadsheety. It's not like that at all. It's just literally, I've got two numbers for each goal. So for example, I want to sell more books next year. So I've got a nice image there to remind me how I'm going to sell more books. And I've got the number of books that I sold in the last 12 months. So I've got two targets. Number one is better. So that is one book more than I sold this year. I've then got a better target, which is kind of 5% growth. So not an easy target, but maintain what you've got first and foremost, improve it, make it a little bit better. Literally one book is better. And then, there's better, and then there's better. So stretch go.
See, I've got a better figured out. That's best, surely.
Better, better, and best. Oh, go on then. You've got a saying on this, haven't you?
I have, yes, that's it. Yeah. So one of the learnings from going out with kids in school on school trips and stuff really was a trip to the local Victorian mine where there was a Victorian school, and in there they had everybody reciting a little ditty, and it was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best.
Say that again.
Oh no, really? Good. Better, best.
You're not reading it off.
Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best.
Okay. I like better and better.
It's shorter.
I think I'll remember better and better in 12 months' time. I can't see me remembering that little ditty.
Fair enough. Are you not surprised that I remember that, because I've not done a school trip there?
I'm sure I'm sure you've got it written down on a post-it note there, and you just read it.
I absolutely haven't. I have when you were talking about your word of the year. I did write down the order of the words so that you didn't just figure those bits up. But no, it's there. You see.
Yeah. So that was a Victorian school talking
values.
about the process of constant, never-ending improvement.
Exactly that. Yeah.
This isn't a new concept. This isn't some newfangled thing that we've just dreamt up. This is something that has worked for centuries.
Pretty much. That's exactly it, mate. Sorry to burst any bubble that you might have had.
No.
So one of your things is to sell more books, John. And does that mean you're going to do some more marketing for all these books that you've already got out there, your plethora of books, or is there something else up your sleeve?
Yes. Both. So ultimately, it's about constant, never-ending improvement. It's about having things better. So I have some marketing in place for the existing books. So I've got ideas to improve those metrics. So a lot of that is SEO. So I've got some metrics, traffic I've received from SEO, search engine optimization, domain authority, number of inbound links, number of blogs that we're targeting with keywords, everything like that. I've got some metrics around that. That's existing marketing to sell more books. However, there is there is a saying within the book world that the best way to market your current book is to write the next one.
Okay.
And I think I can vouch for that, because every time I write a new book, I do sell more copies of the old books, which makes sense, because ultimately what I'm building is an ecosystem of books. When I had one book, I had a book. Have you read my book? Great. The minute I had two books, people discovered one or the other. And then, there's a second book. I can read that one as well. Now that there's three books, there's three potential entry points into the ecosystem and two other books that you could discover. So next year, 2023, there is going to be a fourth book, which is a fourth potential entry point into the ecosystem. I like to think long term. Eventually, there's going to be like 16 books in this ecosystem, which means that there's 15 other books you could potentially look at. I'm emulating like Dan Kennedy with his No BS books. If you discover, Ruthless Management of People and Profits, you say, I really liked that. Now let me go for Marketing to the Affluent. Or you could discover, the Ultimate Copywriting Guide, and you discover, I like that. I'll read another one of his books. That's what I'm aiming for. That's the model that I'm looking to replicate. And it is that ecosystem. So yeah, book number 4 is coming out. Now, I'm not putting a date on it, so don't push me.
What's the date, John?
I know what you like. It's the date is we tried this last time, and I think I committed to autumn at some point. I'm going to say summer 23.
Oh, nice summer read. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So is it one that we'll be able to take on holiday, or is it one that we'll have to wait till we get home from holiday?
It depends when you go on holiday. I am not committing to a date.
You see what I was trying to do there, didn't you?
I do see exactly what you're trying to do. Yeah, I know your game by now.
Yeah,
no, it will, in Routine Machine, I summoned the wise words of Mr. Bull from Peppa Pig. It will take as long as it will take. So, and actually this will lead on to one of my potential Book of the Year contenders later on. It's far more important that I write a good book than it is I write a book that gets out by, and I'm not saying any date, but by the book that comes out by a particular date. Enough that it puts me under immense pressure. The first book, Big Ideas, obviously I went out there and said, hey, public deadline, public accountability. This book is coming out on, I think it was 13th of July, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was an achievable, too much ambition once again. I thought that was an achievable deadline. Turns out I nearly ended up killing myself, hated the entire process. Don't get me wrong, the book was still very good quality, but I nearly killed myself in the process. So from then on...
Do you think, though, without that public accountability, the actual book would have got published at all? Because I appreciate we were a week later, or it was about a week later, whatever, wasn't it, from the date that you sort of suggested that it was going to come out, kind of thing. Yeah. But I just wondered if it actually, because you were hating it and actually put all that effort into getting it out for that particular date. I just wonder whether it would actually have gone and got published at all if you hadn't have been public about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think so, but I think maybe it would have still come out if I'd said, I'm releasing a book in 2017.
Right.
By the end of this year, I will have published Big Ideas for Small Businesses. If I'd said that, then but then would I have just not started it until the summer? Because I've got till the end of the year to worry about this. When I said July, it was like, oh, crikey, it's 1st of January. I better get on and do some writing. If my deadline was 31st of December, 1st of January, I'm chilled.
It's one of those reasons why I like to push, on a little date. And if you've got a date in mind, or maybe even a month, we can narrow that summer down a little bit, couldn't we?
Yeah, I have, but it's staying up here. It's staying in my mind. So I haven't told you what the book's about, have I?
Well, you haven't. No, all I know is it's a crime thriller with DCI Lamerton, D.S. Brockman, and we're going out to solve some crimes. That's all I know.
Gritty grime drama, grime trauma. Yes. No, DCI Lamerton is. Am I DCI? I think maybe
I demoted you to DI, to be fair.
Oh, okay.
DCI, because I sit behind the desk, they don't really tend to go out, do they? So yeah, I kind of figured you were going to get your hands dirty.
Okay, yeah. It's not a crime drama. It does sound like it. It's called The False Exit, which really does sound like a detective novel, doesn't it? But it's not. I'm not doing fiction. It is a book about exiting your business without actually exiting it, without actually selling your business. So it's removing the business owner from the day-to-day operations of the business so that you still own the business. You're still the majority shareholder. You still benefit from owning the asset. You may well have a golden goose at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how not to slaughter the golden goose, but rather how to tame it and how to make it so that it is a goose laying, almost like routine machine for you.
Very good. Very good. I look forward to reading that in July.
Will you? Okay. Well, yes, there will be a beta version ready by July. I can safely say the first very rough draft beta version will definitely be by July.
Well, you don't really want to spend the whole summer writing and finishing editing and all that sort of stuff, do you? So you want to enjoy your summer. So it's got to be done before.
It is.
Right, I'm not pushing anymore. I'm stopping because, yeah. We'll never finish.
I'm glad to hear that. So we're talking books. Should we go on to our book of the year?
Yes.
This is always the highlight of our Christmas podcast.
It is a highlight for me, personally.
It is. And I think you've got a bombshell to reveal this year, haven't you?
I have.
You've read more than one book.
I have read more than one book. Read two.
Hey, there we go. Better and better, you see?
That's my best. No, that's my best.
So what's your pool of contenders and ultimate winner for your book of the year for 20?
Contenders. Oh, that's not too difficult, is it? So Will Coombs. What's it called again? 3 months to number one. It's an SEO book. We're currently using that within our 1% thing, so I've had to reread that again. So that comes into this year, which is really good. And the other one, Retention Point, which is kind of the one I'm going to opt for, and that's a Robert Scrobb. Retention Point, which is about, and I tend to take it out actually and have a look at it every intake that we have for our 1%ers, because again about making those improvements and trying to establish that and keep our 1%ers a bit longer with us, and then continually growing and improving and getting their businesses on track and stuff. It just kind of reminds me all of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, really. And retention is key.
It is. It's one of the books. I think it might have made my shortlist last year. You know, that book, Retention Point. Okay. It was one of the books that I read in the summer of last year. We implemented it within the 1% Club. It made a huge difference to certainly new members' experience when they actually join, and what I think Robert calls the membership on-ramp, as he calls it.
Yeah.
What we would call kind of just onboarding.
Yep.
It's this idea that actually there is a tipping point whereby if you're running a membership business, people move from I'm doing this new thing, I wonder if it's any good, to I'm never leaving. And we hear this a lot now, don't we, from 1%ers. I can't see why I'd ever leave. I think it was Steve West said, even if I sold my business, I'd still want to be a member. Because, at some point, Steve reached that retention point. On the day he joined, he didn't say, I'm never leaving this place. But some point between there and now, he has reached that point. And we've now, I think, sometimes we reach that point by accident. And now I think we reach that point by design. Mm-hmm. And I think lots of, even our old school existing members will tell you that kind of the whole community aspect, the entire membership experience has been vastly improved over the last couple of years. It's been better and better because we don't just preach leaving your business 1% better each week. We try and do the same ourselves. And I think members have noticed that. We've had a few members that have left and then come back and said, oh, wow, this is a bit different to when I last left. It's like, yeah, actually, because you haven't seen the weekly incremental improvements, you've seen the step change by going away for 12 or 18 months. But all that's come from reading that book. Anyway, that's not your book of the year, is it?
Is it not?
Well, you said it wasn't.
Did I? No, I didn't say that. Was the retention point? Was my book of the year? Don't
It is your book of the year, is it?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
And it's really so important, no matter what the business is. And I know we talk about memberships, and that's obviously important to us because most of our work is with membership groups, isn't it? But it applies to every business, really. It's so much cheaper keeping a customer than it is to kind of get a new one. And everyone goes out there and trying to get new customers, must go out and get more customers, must go and do this, and but it's not. It's have the ones you've got, the ones that have already bought into what you have to offer, and they're there and they want to do that again. And you just need to be able to keep giving them that opportunity to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it's such a, everyone chases the new goose.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's looking for the new goose, whereas actually
shiny objects.
They've got a whole flock of them sat in there, sat in their database, which they can use. So yeah, it's really important. I like the book. I like the idea, and absolutely, yeah. And as I say, I do tend to dust it off every intake just to have a look and see what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think previous book of the year was Joey Coleman, Never Lose a Customer. And again, it's this focus on the more you think long term, and I've been listening to lots of people recently. It was Rory Sutherland from Ogilvy said in his book Alchemy, he said, I think in terms of 3 decades now. He said, my planning is 30 years in the future. I don't plan on a quarterly basis anymore. I don't even think about what's happening this month. I'm focused on what's the long-term trend. What is this product going to look like in 30 years? So we now think, and I think, one of the good things that comes out of Retention Point is actually we don't celebrate the sale anymore. We celebrate the 12-month anniversary. Yeah, long-term thinking, it's one of the things we've really, really preached about this year. And I think that will lead nicely into my book of the year. Actually, I'm going to run through my little short list first. My contenders for book of the year. First and foremost, $100 million offers. Alex Hormozi. This is a book that was recommended quite a lot within my network. People will know by now my kind of criteria for picking books is if it gets recommended by a couple of my smart friends, I go, this must be worthwhile reading. Great read. It is an American, so there's quite a bit of bragging and kind of show-offery in there. Once you get under that, it's a very, very tactical book and very, very good. If you're looking at crafting offers, I talk about it in Evergreen Assets as the offer they can't refuse. If you want some help putting together an offer that people can't refuse, I think what Alex calls the grandstand. I think it's a grandstand or Grand Slam. That's it. So I had Des Lynam in my mind.
I don't know. I like how you were looking at me as if I was going to tell you what the answer was.
Grand Slam offer. So $100 million offers. Alex Hormozi, well worth a read. Number 2, Solve for Happy. Mo Gawdat. Part of my slow down journey was actually reading a lot of books about happiness and kind of Zen-like things and everything like that. Now, I read a couple of books on happiness and they were a bit woo-woo. They were a bit, I don't know if I like this. Solve for Happy was, again, recommended to me a few times, sat on my list for ages, and I didn't pick it up because I didn't want to read another woo-woo book. But Mo Gawdat was, I think, Chief Technology Officer at Google X. He is an engineer. So he has a formula for happiness. He says that happiness is an equation, that it's a problem that you can solve for, hence Solve for Happy. Very interesting book. Really, really enjoyed listening to it. Do listen to the audiobook, I would say. I will warn you, if you are listening to the audiobook, you may get something in your eye at some point because it gets a little bit emotional at times. But for me, it's a funny one because when I finished the book, I think I rated it like 3 out of 5 on Audible. I was like, yeah, it's all right. That was fine. I'm now recording this kind of 5 months later. Yeah, it's in my top 3. I've referred to it again, and I can see the difference that some of the tactics and some of the equations that I've deployed as a result of that book have made a difference. My third contender is Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday, again, very much a stoic. Perennial Seller is about creating evergreen assets. I really wish I'd read this book before I wrote Evergreen Assets, but ultimately, this is this long-term thinking that I'm looking at again. So that it's not, how do I sell a ton of this product now? It's, how do I make sure that this product continues to sell forever? And I read the book, obviously thinking in terms of my own books. And, you know, the main step is just write the best book you possibly can. Write for your audience. And there's some really, really good examples in here of businesses and brands that started very, very small, but they know who their target market is. They really serve those people and they create the best product for those people. They create raving fans, they create longevity, they create, I'm sorry to say this, but what sells most books is word of mouth. I've said already, how do I find books people recommend them to me? That's word of mouth. Why do people recommend books? What causes word of mouth? Word of mouth is caused by a really, really good product that you feel someone else needs to know about. And that should be the standard. That's the bar that you're aiming for when you're creating your product. So actually, so much of this book, which the title is Perennial Seller, you think it's about selling, it's really about creating, because actually 95% of the selling is the creating. And I think as a marketer, that goes against everything I stand for, because no, I've seen really good products that have sat on the shelves gathering dust because no one does any marketing. If you do no marketing, yes, you're perfectly crafted product, or you're going to run out of money before you finish the product. But if you create the best work you can and you share it and you create it for your audience, that's going to fly. Anyway, that's 3 books, not my book of the year. Okay. My book of the year is, drumroll please, The Psychology of Money. This is a book by Morgan Housel. Now, I discovered Morgan Housel on a podcast where he decreed that Warren Buffett was not the world's most successful investor. How on earth somebody, regular listeners to the AOB podcast will know I am a Warren Buffett fanboy. And for someone to, the first thing that I hear from someone is decreeing that, no, he's not the best. How we go from someone slagging off the Oracle of Omaha to suddenly becoming my book of the year is actually because he talks a lot of sense. And actually, what he's saying is Warren Buffett, people think that Warren Buffett's superpower is he's a really good investor. He invests at a far higher yield than anyone else. Oh, he achieves such market beating returns. And don't get me wrong, he does beat the market every year. But Warren Buffett's average compounded gain is around 20%, which is very good. It's still more than double the average market rate. But I think there's another example. I think it's Jim Lyons is the example that Morgan uses. He says that since 1983 or something, Jim Lyons has been compounding at 66%. So he's been compounding his gains 3 times better than Warren Buffett and 6 times better, 7 times better than the market. But Warren Buffett's been doing it for 8 decades. And that is Warren Buffett's superpower, is time. And I think the reason I chose The Psychology of Money, we chose it for our 1%ers for the book of the month a few months back. And the reason it's my book of the year is because of where the world is at the moment, because the economy is in the news. It's making the front pages pretty much on a daily basis. And if we are going to enter recession in 2023, it's going to continue to be front page news every day, probably throughout the year. With that in mind, how you react, and your money mindset needs to be optimal, because otherwise you're just going to drown in fear. And so much of money and wealth mindset is around how you think about it. And I've got my little, people, regular listeners will know that one of my routines is that every time I read a book, I do a debrief. I have my debrief here. I've condensed it to a couple of pages, but the takeaways, and again, this is another one of those books that I read a few months back, quite liked it when I finished it. And months later, I'm like, my God, I tell people about this book at least once a week. I've sent copies of this book to multiple people. There's lots of things actually that we talked about on this podcast. So one of the first ones, and this is something that ties in with Mo Gawdat's Silver Happy, having enough. His first point is wealth is about stopping the goalposts moving. That's how you actually get happy, is rein in your ambition. Be ambitious, but when you hit that goal, don't just stretch it even further. Morgan says most people will at some point in their life earn a salary or have a sum of money sufficient to cover every reasonable thing they need and a lot of what they want. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalposts to stop moving, but it's one of the most important. If expectations rise with results, there is no logic in striving for more, because the taste of having more money or more power or more prestige increases ambition faster than satisfaction. That for me just sums it up perfectly. Have goals, have ambition, strive for a fantastic life. But when you get there, don't move the goalposts. Don't suddenly say, okay, I've hit this goal, so what's next? A bigger house, better holidays. Oh, perhaps I could have a Ferrari now. That's, that extra work isn't going to make you happier.
Perhaps our last Prime Minister should have learned that lesson. Not strive for ambition.
Bear in mind, we got a few weeks before this comes out. Which Prime Minister are you talking about? I wouldn't name them.
Well, the one that was in for the shortest period of time ever.
Okay. At the moment, we know who that is, but who knows?
Sure, by the time this comes out, we may.
But I mean, again, there's a very interesting point there. We're talking about Roy Sutherland talking about 30-year game plans, Warren Buffett doing stuff for 8 decades, and then a prime minister being in charge for 43 days or something. That shows I'm not going to get on my soapbox here too much, but that shows the problem with politics is it is a very, very short-term mindset, when actually the mindset that's needed and what will get you through any recession or tough period in your life in general, whether wealth or not, is a long-term mindset. The whole, if Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Just staying in the game and playing the time. Morgan Housel in Psychology of Money again says, he's got an example of 3 investors who invest $1 a month in the stock market. One just keeps on doing that. They're a routine machine. The other one comes out when there's a recession. The other one times their recession. They 6 months after comes back in. The investor who stays in the market ends up with double the return of everyone else. And all they do is just keep putting their $1 a month in. They don't get scared. They don't use emotions. The other thing that I think really chimes with the ambitious lifestyle business is this idea of what wealth is. And I think a lot of people, their mindset around money is bad, money is evil. We need to tax the rich more because the rich aren't paying their fair share. And I don't want to be rich because I don't need that much. And I think Morgan Housel really, really flips it and says, look, true wealth isn't £1 million or $1 million in the bank. It isn't a Ferrari in your drive. It isn't a big country manor. One of the things he says actually is wealth is what you don't see. He said wealth is the Ferrari you don't buy. He said it's quite interesting. He said if you spend 100 grand on a car, He said, there's only two things I can tell you about your wealth. And that is, number one, you have a Ferrari. Whoop-de-doo. Number two, you have £100,000 less in your bank account than you did before. So you actually have less wealth. But true wealth is freedom. And the example that Morgan uses in the book is his father was an ER doctor. So kind of worked on the emergency room. Very, very well paid, but also very, very high stress. Now, because his father invested for the long term and he built up true wealth, the minute he decided, I don't want to do this anymore, he quit his job immediately, walked away from a very, very well-paid 6-figure salary, and was able to do that because he had true wealth. And there's a very, very interesting in fact, I'm going to read out a quote here. So he said, after 2 decades, he decided he'd had enough. So he stopped, just quit, and moved on to the next phase of his life. That stuck with me. Being able to wake up one morning and change what you're doing on your terms, whenever you're ready, seems like the grandmother of all financial goals. Independence doesn't mean you'll stop working. It means you only do work you like, with people you like, at the times you want, for as long as you want. That sounds a bit like my ultimate job description, doesn't it?
Sounds very much like that.
And that's what true wealth is. It's being able to do what you want, when you want, where you want, how you want, if you want. And then it's being able to decide, I'm getting too old for this shit. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm out of here. I'm going to do something else instead. That is true wealth. There's been a few days since reading this book where I've been like walking along the coastal path on a nice sunny Tuesday morning, going to myself, this is wealth. Wealth is not working on a Tuesday morning when it's nice and sunny and I can walk along the coast with the dog. That's wealth. It isn't having a Lamborghini on the driveway, because if I've got the Lamborghini on the driveway, I'm sat here working to pay for the Lamborghini. Not buying the Lamborghini and choosing instead to not work and go walk the dog instead. That is true wealth, because that is true freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, where I want, if I want. And that's, I think, it's quite interesting when we get 1%ers and we ask them, what do you want out of life? The amount of people that say, I want your job description. That's what I want, because it's so open to interpretation and it's personal to you. It's what you want. That's what true wealth is. And that's where I'd implore everybody, whether you are, interested in becoming a stock market investor, property investor, or you just want to have a healthier relationship with money. If you've ever said to yourself, I'm not a numbers person, or I'm no good with money, then it's very important that you read this book. It's not going to persuade you that capitalism is, the panacea, the answer to all of our problems. What it is going to do is help you have a healthier relationship with money and understanding what wealth truly is.
Very good. I can see why it's the book of the month, or book of the year. Sorry, and it took almost a year to go through that. So that's amazing. and yeah, as you say, it's interesting because we speak to I speak to the 1%ers every week and everything, and it is very much that. It is what they to do those things they want to do, and we've got lots of different people in the group who have different ideas of what their aspirations are, what they'd like to achieve, and that kind of stuff. And one of those things came off the back of one of our calls with Joe Ratner, wasn't it? Really, I think, and we had a certain character of one of our 1%ers in the background on said call with on holiday with a pool and a giant flamingo, and so the flamingo obsession, I would call it, in the 1% group was born, with lots of photographs of various flamingos in various poses and various places. Mm-hmm. Those watching the YouTube version of our podcast will see John in his Christmas flamingo outfit with a flamingo light behind him. There are no places this flamingo doesn't end up, is it? Which is great. And out of that came the Flamingo Award, wasn't it? That's where I was kind of heading, really thinking about what people would like to do, what their aspirations are. And we came up with the Flamingo Award, which was people taking themselves out of their business, because business owners invariably work 100 hours a week. Stephen Gibbons certainly was probably 120 hours a week, and focused completely on doing the work stuff, and then having no time. And for me, I like to provide with my one-to-ones and stuff, lots of white space, giving people white space in their diaries, working their time management out better, time blocking, but making sure they have white space, which most business owners don't tend to have. Anyway, these white spaces get bigger and bigger over a period of time. And so we come the Flamingo Award, which is what we're going to talk about, isn't it? Next, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I say it was Ian Bluck, I think, wasn't it? Say sat on this pink flamingo, which again very much leans into our type of people, because Gerald Ratner was talking about earning £850,000 salary in the 1980s, having lunch with the Prime Minister, building the UK's first £1 billion high street company. And Ian sat there on a flamingo with his shirt off in Lanzarote. That is our ethos. We are, genuine, down to earth, real family people who work to live, not live to work. And we've got that balance between, yes, ambition, but also that lifestyle. And so the flamingo was kind of just mentioned a few times. Like, oh yeah, there's Ian with his flamingo again. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember where this started, but it just suddenly became, I think, again, word of mouth that spread, and someone went, oh, look, here's another flamingo. Let me tag Ian in the post. Suddenly, we've adopted the flamingo. And yes, I'm here in my flamingo Christmas T-shirt. We've got the flamingo light behind us. And we have said that, so we set up this Pink Flamingo Award for 1% Club members. And we said, right, the 1%er who spends the most time in 2022 not working in their business. So they remove themselves from the business for the most, I think we said the most complete days, will win a 4-foot high inflatable flamingo, which I'm sorry guys, but I haven't inflated it for the purposes of this podcast. I do have a photo. If people are viewing the podcast, you will see now I'm holding up on screen me with said flamingo. And that is the award we're going to make to 1%. Now, it's not an exact science, this. We haven't installed tracking chips in our 1%ers. What we have done is notice that there are several members who have made an effort not to win a 4-foot high plastic inflatable flamingo, surprisingly, but actually to have a better lifestyle, and who have identified that they wish to work less in the business. Remember, this is not about earning less as well. If you can earn the same amount of money, but work less hours, your hourly rate goes up. You mentioned Stephen Gibbons. Yeah, Stephen, I think when he first came to us said, like, I'm working way, way too much. So how many days a week do you work? Are you working, sort of 5 days a week? So it's probably 6, maybe 6.5. Examples of, sending emails at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night. And we said, right, we want to dial this back. Now, he's not there yet, but he set a target of a 4-day work week, which there may be people listening to this now thinking, oh, that's nothing. 4-day work week is nothing. But if you are going from 100, 120 hours a week to a 4-day work week, even if those are 4 10-hour days, and that's still a 40-hour work week, that's still a 50, 60% reduction.
Massive, isn't it?
In the hours. It's huge. We've got Roger. Roger doesn't work Tuesdays anymore. So Roger's a baker. So he decided, I'm not going to work Tuesdays. And that's it's a very easy way to kind of make that decisive decision. It's not, I'm going to try to leave earlier. I'm going to try to not work as hard, but just saying, I don't work Tuesdays, or, I'm going to take every second Friday off, or I'm going to do a 4-day week. That works brilliantly.
Alistair, he had the idea that he's going to go and spend 3 weeks away in the summer. I want a 3-week holiday, never left the business behind. And it's kind of, he loved me because I suggested, let's have a few holidays to test it, shall we? Let's put the measures in place. And it's like, well, First off, let's have a long weekend away. Have a couple of days off each end, and then that turned into a week. So I think he probably had more than the 3-week holiday in the summer through the year leading up to it than he did there. But again, made that difference. Was able to extricate himself from the business in order to be able to do that. Ian, driving instructor, again, another person who wanted a long summer holiday with the family. The lifestyle back into the business. Again, was able to kind of do that as well. So yeah, there's lots of candidates, I would say, in the group that maybe never thought about it until there was an inflatable flamingo, or at least until people started talking about it. And that's one of the things about having like-minded people in the group, really, and everyone kind of like, yeah, we want to aspire to something. But I guess our winner is somebody that everyone really would be looking up to in terms of being able to get themselves out of their business, putting those systems in place over the last 3 years or so that this person's been with us, being able to do all of that in order to make 2020 the year of travel.
Absolutely. Yeah. She was discussed last night with one of our 1%ers, and this 1%er called her he said the end goal for all of us. He said that's where we all want to be. It's who we all aspire to be like. And it is, we have another drum roll.
I imagine that Lee's going to pop this in for us. So
I would hope so. Otherwise, again, for audio listeners, it's just, come over, drum roll, please. Silence. Crickets. Our winner is, it's no surprise, I think, for most of us, it is Michelle Marsland. Michelle is an accountant who took all of January, yes, self-assessment season, took herself off to Tenerife. Came back briefly in February and decided this is a bit cold. So she went back out to Tenerife. I think I flew out with the kids. Easter, was it?
Easter, yeah.
She was still out there then. And we met up and we had a meal in Tenerife. She's traveled through Europe throughout the year. She's just come back from America. And even when she's in the country, how much does she actually work in the business?
15 minutes a week, I think, or 2. Is it a day?
But again, like you said, she's set up. She's got quite a small team. Mm-hmm. They've got all the processes they need, all the systems they need. She's put core values in place, so they understand how to think like Michelle. She's got her pipelines set up brilliantly, and she goes in and gives tremendous value to the team in those 15 minutes. I don't think it's quite 15 minutes a week. I think she's probably doing I reckon 3 hours a week.
Maybe.
And also we interviewed Michelle on the podcast a couple of months ago, and there was a line which I've repeated a few times now that she said, it's possible to earn a very good living on just a few hours a week. And it is, but she's done that over several years. As you said, she's put those systems and processes in place. She had the big kind of epiphany when she broke her leg and she couldn't work in her business. She was removed. She had that false exit 3 years ago and it was forced upon her. As a result, she had to put all these systems in place. She had to lean on her team. And then I think realized once she's healed, don't actually need to go back to the way things were before, because linking back to the money mindset again, she had that true wealth of, well, actually, I've got the freedom to do what I want. And what do I want to do at this stage of my life? And I think she talked about it on the podcast. She had previous goals of, well, I'm going to build the business up. It's going to be a big business. I'm going to sell the business. I have to sell the business in order to get the money to do what I want in life. And now she's realized, actually, I've got the asset. I own the asset. It needs a couple of hours a week off me. And sometimes it doesn't need me at all. And I can just go off to America for a few weeks. I can jump in the car and drive through Europe. I can do whatever I want to. She's now living in her dream home. She's got the lifestyle that she's always wanted. And I think it's all down to just choosing to work less and putting the systems in place so that she can.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So well done, Michelle, on winning the Pink Flamingo Award. We're going to establish that we're going to have to come out to Tenerife, I guess, over the winter and deliver it to you in person, which will be great.
I think that's only fair.
Looking forward to doing that. Yes, and hopefully John will recover and he'll have the air to be able to blow it up.
The other thing we said is obviously we kind of do have to choose a Plymouth-based winner, I think, of this award, because it's quite big if we're going to deliver it to somebody. And I think we're going to have to, we are going to repeat it next year, but I think we're going to have to discourage or disqualify Michelle from mentoring again, because I think she's just stacked the deck so far. We need to make it aspirational for everyone else. I think Michelle will pass on the torch next year. We will, she can keep the flamingo.
I think she might be the judge next year for everybody, measuring everybody else. I think, the winner stays on as the judge, I think.
Yeah, I like that. So you've delegated all the decision making of it. It was an easy decision this year because you just taken the whole year off. But again, as I said, so many people have made such huge strides. And even, again, like Tracy Owen as well, has set up a business that doesn't require her. It benefits from her. But again, she's another accountant who set up a business that means, I don't work Tuesdays, I don't work Thursdays, I take time off in the summer, or, I can absolutely optimize the business around the lifestyle I want. And that's all we ever talk about on this call. You hear, we ask that question, what does an ambitious lifestyle business look like for you? And ultimately what we're asking there is, what does the business need to look like in order to give you the lifestyle you want? And it is the lifestyle you want. For some people, they'll be listening to Michelle's story going, I want to travel the world. I want to spend my entire year on holiday and only work a few hours a week. For others, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be, I just
want a week off.
Yeah. I just want to not work weekends. I want to actually be able to go on holiday once a year for more than 7 days and not take the laptop with me. That was my original thing back in the day. I actually want to switch off at some point. But it's open to you as the listener to interpret that for yourself. And now's a good time, because with Christmas, things do tend, the phone does tend to ring a little bit less. The emails tend to die off. We do shut down over Christmas. So now's a good time to reflect. Where do you want to be 12 months from now? Do you want things to be better? What does better look like for you? Are you just running the business roughly the same way you are now, but working a few hours less? Have you got an extra holiday in there? Are you no longer working weekends? Are you playing golf when it's sunny? Are you seeing more of the kids? Are you spending more time with elderly parents? Open to you to interpret it. Are you looking after your health? Just have a think about, what do you want your lifestyle to be like? And then just make the business fund it. That's all, because that is, going back to the psychology of money, that is what money and wealth is for. Wealth is to provide you freedom to not have to do the stuff you don't want to do. There we go. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
As I said, bigidea.co.uk/100, what will hopefully get you into our live podcast that we're going to be recording in a couple of months for episode 100. But other than that, do have a fantastic 2023. Here's to a bit of stability. It'd be nice to think that a year from now we've still got the same Prime Minister and the same Chancellor. That would be my wish for 2023.
Can we change them first? No, let's not go there. Anyway, have yourselves a fantastic Christmas. Looking forward to the new year. And take care, everyone.
Adios. Bye-bye.
So there we are, another episode in the can. How was it for you? Please let us know. However you listen to these podcasts, please leave a review on that platform. Let us know what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve to make this show even better for you. We'll see you next time.